Welcome to the Law School Strategy Podcast, your weekly home for tips, advice, exclusive interviews, and other insights into landing that coveted legal job by graduation. We're here to help every law student develop their law school strategy. Don't go through law school blind. It's time to get out of the classroom, put your books down, and finish that outline later. Now, here's your host, Franklin Graves.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode. This week, I'm on the road, and I'm out in California, specifically Anaheim, for the 8th annual VidCon. It's basically a convention for any online video creators. It's sponsored by YouTube, and so that's predominantly who you'll see at VidCon. I'm here because I'm on a panel this week with the Copyright Alliance and a couple of internet creators and fellow attorneys to discuss some copyright issues that every creator should know about. It's actually going to be live streamed, so I will definitely be sharing on social media channels the link to where you can watch it either live on Facebook at the Copyright Alliance website or the Copyright Alliance page on Facebook, or you can watch it afterwards. I'm sure it'll be posted somewhere on YouTube as well. This week, I'm going to get right into the interview with Zack Heck. He is a practicing attorney and is a rock star when it comes to privacy law. I'm also going to talk about a specific certification that is available to privacy professionals and whether or not attorneys or current law students should even be considering something like that. Without further ado, here's the interview with Zack. This time on How I Graduated from Law School with a Job, I'm excited to welcome Zack Heck from Dayton, Ohio. Hey, Zack.
Hello, Franklin. How are you doing today?
Doing very well. I'm excited to talk with you. I think a lot of law students can learn from your experience and your path after law school, but I'm going to start a little bit before we get there, start at the beginning. So what did you do or study before law school, and why did you end up going to law school?
Right. So I went to the University of Dayton for undergrad, and during that time I studied English literature and philosophy and also received minors in sociology and religious studies. So I was a big humanities geek, and those were always fun because all you did was just read books and talk about it. So it's, a fairly fun and easy kind of college class trajectory. But in my free time, I'd go back to my high school alma mater, Centerville High School, and I would coach their mock trial team. I was a member of their mock trial team when I was in high school, and they needed some extra help and some extra support. So I'd go back there all 4 years of college to go back and assist and help out and coach them to a state finals tournament. And through that process, in undergrad, I was going back and forth as to what I wanted to do. I had always thought I wanted to be a lawyer for a while. I flirted with the idea of teaching for a while, and the coaching really gave me an opportunity to fall back in love with the law and this idea of grappling tough, complex issues and problems and really thinking your way through it, really trying to work your way through those problems to find a solution that's really helpful and beneficial to whoever you're representing. And so that reignited that love for the law that I had. And so I decided to take the LSAT, did well with it, and applied to law school because I thought, well, if you're either going to be a lawyer or you're going to be a teacher, it's probably easier to be a lawyer first and go through law school and get admitted to the bar and practice and then go teach later on if you still feel like it, than it would be to go teach for a while and then try to get back into the swing of things and preparing for law school. So I did that. I didn't have too concrete of a plan. Like I said, I enjoyed the mock trial type competition, so I wanted to do something where I could be a fierce advocate for a client, and decided that I'll figure that out along the way while I'm in law school, and ended up going to Indiana University Maurer School of Law. They gave me a full ride, so it was pretty easy to accept their invitation to attend, and it was a great experience. Law school can be really difficult and it can take an incredible toll on you, but going to law school in a town like Bloomington with a supportive atmosphere and with a very collegial type of community really put me, I think, on a good path for a career in the legal profession.
Yeah, and I noticed that you were very actively involved outside of just going to class, and your competitions were definitely a part of that. So can you describe the importance of being active and involved? And you kind of hinted on this, having that support and that release outside of just going to class and the stress of that. How important was that during your law school time?
I think it was essential for a couple reasons. The first is that when you go to class, it's all theory, right? They don't really teach you. They're getting better, but the emphasis isn't on the practicalities of the practice of law. It's not on the practicalities of how do you communicate with a client? How do you make sure that you can address their concerns, their anxieties in a productive way? And it doesn't emphasize the opportunities to have those, what I like to call stand-up moments, where you have to stand up on your own 2 feet and really form and defend an argument. And so I made it a priority during my 2L and 3L year, because 1L, yeah, you should just be studying and getting through that. But in my 2L and 3L year, to be part of law review and to be part of the Sherman Minton Moot Court competition and really get as much as I can out of that. Law review can be tedious and it can be a drag, but you learn how to write better. You learn how to communicate better. And it's not just learning the blue book rules, but you're reading as you're going through and cite checking and proofreading. You're reading pieces of emerging nascent legal issues from incredibly bright and talented legal professors, practitioners, whoever it might be. So there's opportunities to learn from that. And with moot court, once again, it's one of those stand-up moments where you're in the courtroom and you're being grilled by practitioners and judges that have studied this issue as well as you have and are really trying to engage you in this high-level intellectual argument. So at the 2L level, that was important for me to get those opportunities. And then 3L, I wanted to be part of the leadership for that. So with moot court, that had been my passion during 2L. So I applied to be on the executive committee to actually write the problem for the next class. So I was one of 2 people that sat down and actually wrote a moot court problem to get the insight from that perspective. And then on law review, I was one of the managing editors of the journal to really oversee and help put together a really accomplished product.
That's very impressive, and I think that speaks volumes to the practical experience that you were able to gain, for sure. Going on with that practical experience route, you had some excellent internships as well. So can you talk more about those internship opportunities that you had during law school? And first of all, how you got them, and then second of all, what you learned from them?
Sure. So, I knew when I started law school that I was pretty confident I wanted to come back to Dayton, Ohio. Dayton is home to me. I went to high school here, went to undergrad here, so I wanted to come back into the community. So it's a little difficult when you're in a law school out of state, even if it's a highly ranked, highly reputable law school like Indiana. It can still be difficult, especially when Dayton has its own law school that's respected and revered within the community. So when I came back, I made a point to, on vacations, on holidays, whenever I was returning home, to reach out and to talk to anyone I could in the legal community, just to network and to get to know them and let them know, like, I'm a native Daytonian. I want to come back home, and I would love any opportunity I can have to gain some on my feet experience in the place that I want to end up. And so I was lucky in that I spoke to an attorney at a firm across the street, and they were looking for someone to be an intern for the summer, one to 2 years of law school experience, and he was really happy to take me on board. And I actually met him not through any prior connection that we had, but Indiana has this class, a legal professions class, where one of your assignments is to talk to 5 different attorneys from different practice areas, from different backgrounds, and interview them and then write a paper about it. And he just happened to be one of the ones that I chose. And he
I love it.
said, "Do you need a job for the summer?" And I said, "I would really like one." And at the same time, I had been talking to Judge Dennis Atkins at the Court of Common Pleas, and he had helped out with the mock trial team that I coached. And it was the same thing. He said, "If you've got time this summer, I'd love to have you on as an intern." So I had 2 different opportunities. The law firm job paid, the court job didn't, but I still wanted that experience. I wanted to see both perspectives. So basically hammered out a deal between the court and the law firm to split my time over the summer. And instead of doing, 5 weeks at one place, 5 weeks at another, or Mondays and Tuesdays here, Wednesdays through Fridays here, I was able to get them to agree to where I'd be with the courts in the mornings every day and at the law firm in the afternoons every day. And I think that really, I got a lot of value from that, because when you see people every day, and you're not just coming in 1 or 2 days a week, you become more immersed in that community, and you get a better sense and a better gauge of what that law firm experience is like, or what the experience in the courthouse is like. And you can see a little bit every day the natural progression. And both places were really accommodating. If we had a trial going on at the courthouse, I could spend more time there to see more of it. Or if we had a big case coming up at the law firm, the judge was more than happy to lease me out a little bit longer over there. So it was looking at that summer experience in a more creative way, and kind of going against the grain of some of the more traditional formats you can do to really maximize the benefits I could out of that.
Great. And so I think this next question will be what everybody wants to know, which is, did you graduate from law school with a job? And if so, how did you do it?
Right. Well, I did. And it was kind of a more traditional route. The summer after 2L, I had a summer associate position with the firm that I'm currently at now, Faruki, Ireland, Cox, Reinhardt, and Dusing in Dayton, Ohio. And I got the job through that kind of, just putting your nose to the grindstone and doing interview after interview and cover letter after cover letter, as many places as I could. I wanted to come back to Dayton, and I had standing offers with the court and with the law firm that I had been at, but I really wanted to see where else I could go, and if there was any opportunities to spread my wings a little bit more. And so basically every firm in town, I sent a cover letter, I sent my resume to. I participated in on-campus interviews at IU also. I'm not for sure how much value they add, because you would have some experiences to where you'd be pretty confident that the interviewer is just playing on their iPad and not actually listening to you and what you had to say. But I was very fortunate that I sent my resume and my cover letter here to the Faruki firm, and it was right at the perfect time where they were looking for someone. They had done a couple interviews, and they always took the approach of, instead of going out and doing on-campus interviews and actively looking for someone, they would wait for the resumes and cover letters to come to them. And I just applied at the right time, came in, did a morning full of interviews, interviewed with our firm's executive director, interviewed with one of their named partners, Jeff Cox, a few of the senior associates, and I guess I brought something to the table that they liked, because they brought me on as a summer. And during that summer, the traditional route is 10 weeks. I asked, since I didn't really have any big summer plans, if I could just do the full summer, 14 weeks. It also helped because I wanted to have an increase in salary during that time for living expenses. And so they were happy to accommodate. They were going through a really busy summer, and they were happy to have that additional work. So I stayed on for 14 weeks, and then on week 14, Charlie Faruki invited me into his office and didn't give me any warning what it was about, but said, I want to offer you a job. And I shook his hand, and I've been here about 3 years now.
That's awesome. I love that. And something I want to kind of go back and touch on is you mentioned that you reached out, just kind of cold reaching and cold sending your resume to the firm. So in that process, how did you find, first of all, who to send your resume to? And then secondly, how did you find the firm if you didn't see a posting? You said you researched and found local firms that you were interested in. Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, a lot of it would just be doing a Google of literally law firms, Dayton, Ohio, pulling out I went down, got a copy of the bar directory, and just looked up, okay, who are these firms and what do they do? And does it jive with my career interests? I wanted to do litigation. I wanted to do that kind of complex work. And so Faruki is one of the top firms in that area. I looked at other firms as well that fit that bill, but it was really just Googling, calling contacts that I had in the area and saying, I'm thinking about this type of law. What recommendations do you have? And through either the firm's website that would say, if you're interested, contact this person, or the introductions I would make from individuals I had previously met and worked with, I was able to hammer down and find those people that I can send the resume to. And it helped a lot because with the Faruki firm, there were 2 associates at the time from my law school alma mater. So as I send it to John Kendall, executive director, I CC the IU alum, and hoping that maybe they'll say, hey, he's from where I went to law school. Give that a second look.
Excellent. And I think it's also important to point out that a lot of law firms now have a operating officer, like a COO type position, or even a lot of the firm websites will list, if they have regional offices, they'll list a partner that's the managing partner of that office. So would you recommend those people, or if there's not a direct contact listed on the careers website, portion of the website, would you recommend those are the kind of the avenues that somebody reach out if they have no other way of reaching out to the firm?
I think so. I think that's a good way to do it. But another practical approach would be just give the firm a call and talk to the receptionist and say, I'm interested in a summer clerk position or a summer associate position. Who would I be able to talk to about that? And let the firm route you to that person, and it gives you, I think it has a couple advantages. One, you're able to get a more solid name that you can attach to, but we've become so email dependent now that it's almost a unique phenomenon when someone calls on the phone that you're more inclined to remember that person. And that's one of the things in my professional work. I make sure that if I've got the opportunity to make a phone call instead of sending an email, I opt for the phone call because you build better community that way. I think you foster better relationships with co-counsel or opposing counsel, whatever it might be, through those techniques.
Wonderful. And there's another, I'm going to switch gears here, but there was another way that I found you actually, which was through an article that you published in the Young Lawyer magazine, publication of the ABA. And it was actually about it was the catfish article, and I'll post a link to it here in the show notes for people listening to the podcast, or down below in the description if you're watching on YouTube, so you can check out your wonderful article there. But in the process of looking into you further, I noticed you have a certification, the CIPP certification. So can you talk more about how that has helped you in your career and when you got that certification, and also whether law students should consider going that avenue if they're interested in cybersecurity law?
Yeah, absolutely. So our firm is primarily a litigation firm. That's what our practice has been since Charlie Faruki founded the firm, and it stands that way to this day. But when I started out my first year practicing, I was doing a plethora of Fair Credit Reporting Act cases, and that's a very complicated, very nuanced area of the law, but it's rooted in privacy and it's rooted in elements of cybersecurity. And so the more and more I worked in those types of cases, I knew that I wanted to kind of find my way into this niche of privacy law and cybersecurity law with both the litigation aspects, but also breach response and privacy regulation and compliance for whether it be a healthcare entity or a financial institution. I knew that's what I wanted to do the more and more I got into these litigation matters. So I made a point to reach out to our partners that do this kind of work and attorneys and ask them for advice. How can I get more of these cases? It's great that you give me cases to work on, but I'd like to go out and get my own clients too and bring them into the fold. How do you recommend doing that? And one of the answers I kept getting was, if you want to instill confidence in prospective clients, the Certified Information Privacy Professional credential is going to go a long way in doing that. And so I researched and I looked into the International Association of Privacy Professionals and found out they are, around the world, the leading consumer confidence with respect to privacy and cybersecurity. It's akin to a bar association in many ways, but it's not just lawyers. It's tech professionals, it's IT, it's really anyone with that, wanting to have that base of expertise and knowledge. So I became a member of the IAPP, and I had to sit down and take another test. You think you're done with the bar exam when you're done with tests, but I had to take one more. It was, I think, 100 multiple choice questions. Took it on a computer station at Sinclair Community College. And there were different resources online to study for, and you can get the certification in different areas. I got mine in United States law and regulation. I'm planning to get another one in European law and regulation. But it was a way to broaden my knowledge of privacy and cybersecurity, get that credential that is going to instill a little bit more confidence, especially because I'm a younger attorney. I've only been out. At that point, I had been out a year and a half, if even that. And anything you can do to reassure anyone that you talk to that you're a reputable resource for that area, you should do. So I think, yeah, if you're in law school, that's a good time to go ahead and get that certification. If you're confident that's an area you want to practice in, there's no harm in getting the certification early and starting out on a positive footing. And I know that, I haven't changed careers. I've stayed at the same firm, but I've also added a position of adjunct professor to my resume at Wright State University. And that certification was one of the items that the director for computer science over there saw and latched onto when he was looking for someone to create a legal aspects of cybersecurity course for their computer science department. He saw that and thought, this is someone I should talk more to. And so that resulted in a couple of interviews and then offer to teach some of their graduate students and undergraduate students.
Excellent. So that sounds like it's definitely an avenue that some law students interested that know they want to do cybersecurity law might want to look into. So for other law students that might not be interested in cybersecurity, that might not be the avenue they want to take, what are some ways you think that current law students can stand out in the job market?
Right. I think grades are always going to be one of the first things that an employer looks at. So anything you can do, especially that first year, that 1L year, anything you can do to boost your GPA, get high on the class rank, that's going to be helpful. And as you go on, I think law review, moot court, trial team experience, those things, they might not help you stand out, but with how competitive the job market still is, these are becoming prereqs for a lot of firms. They want to see that. Now, maybe you don't want to go on to a law firm. Maybe you want to do something else. I think the best thing you can do is network and find those people that can be advocates for you in that job search. So one of the things that I think is great is the University of Dayton School of Law has a very active Federal Bar Association student division. And the resources that the student division has, they get to meet with federal judges and federal practitioners on a monthly basis, really. They're invited to any meeting that we have, and they're able to interact and network with federal practitioners, federal judges. And when you start seeing those students again and again and again, you become a part of that community, and it makes it much easier for a firm or a public interest institution to pull your name and put at the top of their stack of resumes, because they already have that familiarity with you. They already have that assurance that you're going to be an active member of the community, of the bar, and that you're going to be reliable. So I think seeking out those opportunities, even as a student, to join the local bar association, to network, to meet attorneys, if you're lucky enough to be at a law school in the area that you want to practice in. And if you're not so lucky, then I think it's reaching out to alumni. It's finding people that are in those areas of law that you're interested in, introducing yourself, getting a cup of coffee when you're able to travel to visit, or even a phone call or a Skype interview. Whatever it might be, alumni, we're always happy to help anyone from our law school, because when you're able to succeed, that helps us. That lets us succeed and instills more confidence in the alma mater. So I think all of those are great opportunities for anyone looking to get a job and get into the legal profession. I think those are all great things to do that.
Yes, that's very powerful advice and very insightful information. And I think it's important to note for current law students, especially because there are so few factors now that will differentiate you from the other person that's applying. And so you want to try to get as many of those differentiating factors and that little extra something that will get you their attention and set you apart from the other candidates. So excellent advice. I love everything that you've talked about so far. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to share that talk about that we haven't gotten to yet?
Nothing in particular. I think that the market's still tough, and I'm sure that a lot of viewers and audience members can feel discouraged at times, and they can feel like maybe it's time to call it and just end halfway through law school. But I encourage anyone that's in law school, thinking about law school, just focus on what it is that's drawn you to the law in the first place, and let that be your guiding light as you're looking for a job, as you're looking to figure out what you want to do, how you want to practice. And then you have to hustle. I mean, it's more than a 9-to-5 job going to law school. There's a lot of sleepless nights I had studying, and there's a lot of times where I'm discouraged, but I had to keep coming back to this idea that I want to engage in difficult problems. I want to be part of these bleeding edge and cutting edge legal disputes, and whatever it's going to take for me to do that, however many hours it is, how many classes I need to take and activities I need to engage in to gain that experience, you just have to do it. And I think having that positive attitude goes a very, very long way when you're in those dark times and trying to get to the finish line and find a career that you're going to be happy with. So just stay positive.
Okay, so before we wrap up, you have a bookshelf behind you, so I'm going to ask you to do something. Can you turn around and pick one book that you think that you could recommend right now for law students to read on your bookshelf?
Oh, wow.
I see a lot of privacy and cybersecurity related topics back there.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. I would say a good, for any law student, I think, I would have to go with, I would probably recommend Writing to Win, because, I mean, I would love to point out any of these privacy books, but I think generally speaking, written work product is always going to be the most important thing. when you enter the legal profession. And so this book by Stephen Stark is a great resource for learning just how to write better and to be a better advocate and how to be more persuasive. So that's what I would go with for your audience. Writing to Win, The Legal Writer, The Complete Guide to Writing Strategies That Will Make Your Case and Win It by Stephen Stark.
Perfect. Thank you. I will make sure to include a link to that in the show notes for people listening to the podcast. And again, down in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. What's the best way for people to reach out to you if they have any additional questions or just want to follow up with you on anything?
Sure. There's a lot of avenues. They can email me at zheck@ficlaw.com. That's my firm email. Might get caught in the spam, but I check spam twice a day, so I'll find it at some point. They can tweet me at either @HeckPrivacy or the firm's privacy Twitter account, which is @Faruki Privacy. I manage both Twitter accounts, so I can see there. I'm on LinkedIn. They can message me there, or they can contact by phone, which my firm phone number is available on my firm's webpage, which is another place you can go and learn more about me and my practice.
Excellent. I will include links to all of those that you mentioned in the show notes in the description here on YouTube. So thank you again for taking the time. You shared some excellent advice and tips and insights. I know if law students are looking for a good example of what people of an attorney that's actually active and doing great things online with their cyberspace, it's you. So I recommend law students check out those links to your Twitter and your LinkedIn. So thank you again for taking the time.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Law School Strategy. Remember to hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It also helps if you leave a rating. That helps with the iTunes algorithms and the Google Play Store, and also on YouTube if you thumbs up or leave a comment below how much you appreciate and enjoy the content. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Law School Strategy Podcast. Check out lawschoolstrategy.com and make sure you subscribe to never miss an episode of the Law School Strategy Podcast. We're on all podcast apps and on YouTube, so leave a review. Connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. Remember, nothing in this podcast should be considered legal advice. Please consult with an attorney on any legal issues you may be facing.